Good morning, Practical Magic. Michelle Lee here. How are you? Happy Friday. I am tuning in from my backyard. We have a fence back here for our little dog to have her space, her safe space, away from any predators that we have here in the forest. But I wanted to tune in with you from this from Mother Nature. I have my bare feet on the ground, receiving the energy from Mother Gaia, and just being in this forest bath. I thought I would share that with you. But I'm jumping in here today. I shared on my personal page. For those of you who didn't see it, today is the first in a series of higher perspectives with Michelle Lee. And I was inspired this morning. This came through during my meditation, during my morning ritual this morning, on how I could serve at a higher level, how I could serve more, how I could support even more. And this is what came through, is this series of higher perspectives to support humanity, people just like you who are seeking this, how to extricate yourself from the matrix, what the matrix is, how we get tied into the matrix, and how really to create our own heaven on earth. When you hello Tori, so good to see you. When you tune in, if you're live, let us know where you're tuning in from, and if this is a replay, please put in the comments #replay. I really invite you during these series to ask questions. My intention is to talk about have the hard conversations, right? Megan and I were discussing it this morning when I was sharing this with her, how scary it can be to bring in the higher perspectives, the higher vibration into what's happening in our world right now. And all of the different things happening in our world right now, which is the matrix. In talking about the matrix, let's talk a little bit about the movie The Matrix and how the Matrix was depicted. The Matrix was depicted as this reality that was being created by individuals that benefited from the enslavement, the fear, the emotions. It was a reality created by those individuals who benefited from that. So let's just use that as the analogy. Now, what I didn't like about the Matrix was that it showed that Neo and all of those individuals that were living outside the Matrix really had no place to go, right? It was very dark. The planets they were on were very dark. They were in constant warfare, protecting themselves from the Matrix. And they were either on a ship or in a very dark place. I don't even remember where it was that they were called. But what I was shown this morning was that the Matrix is this little tiny pinpoint in time. And what is outside of the Matrix is divinity, is infinite potential. It is the truth with a capital T. What is outside the Matrix is infinite potential. It is the mind of God. Now, inside the Matrix is also the mind of God, right? So God is inside the Matrix. And this is, I used to facilitate a Course in Miracles. And I moved away from that. And part of A Course in Miracles that I didn't agree with, that didn't resonate with me, is that God is not here. That God is not in the Matrix. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. God is here. God is everywhere. God is omnipresent. And when I'm talking about God, I'm not talking about the religious God that we learned about in church and that is still being taught about in church. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about infinite intelligence, the energy without the dogma. That which animates us is infinite intelligence. So inside. So the matrix is inside the mind of God. The matrix is, and beyond the matrix is the mind of God, which is infinite. Okay, I wish I had a word for it. It's expansive. It's everything else. And inside the matrix, we're playing a game. We're playing a game of fear. We're playing a game of enslavement. We're playing a game of suffering. And that's our choice. We get to do that. Okay. But everything, you know, we chose that at a soul level to come into this matrix. We all have our soul purpose. We all have the agreements we made with other souls, and fulfilling those. And thank you, Tori, for tagging people. It's really important. I want everyone to see this. So we're playing this game, and we are playing the game of ascension as well. The awakening into our truth, capital T, and the awakening and remembrance of our divinity. Now, inside the Trinity membership, I do activations every single month, and to help activate your DNA to remembrance, right? We hold the truth within our very cells and within our very DNA. And that is being activated now. And these conversations, these higher perspectives that I will come in, I'm not committing to when I will be coming in and doing these. It could be weekly, it could be a couple times a week. I don't know. It's going to run on inspiration, flow, and intuition. But we hold the truth within us that is available to us. Now, what keeps us in the matrix? We're awakening. We don't have to live this experience, this reality, right? We don't have to be in it anymore. Just as Jesus said, to be in the world and not of it. He demonstrated that. He demonstrated that pain and suffering, illness were an illusion. And his faith in the truth of wholeness, in his own wholeness, and in the wholeness of the people that he laid hands on, was enough to bring them into alignment with the truth, divinity. Okay, so within the matrix, you can wake up to your divinity. So what keeps us in the matrix is an agreement with the illusion. We make these agreements with the agreement with the illusion through our emotions. So emotions and programs, okay? Programs within the matrix. Good morning, Yukti. Thank you for joining. Emotions within the matrix are held in place by programs. So I talk a lot about, if you've listened to me, like we are wired for success, but we are programmed for failure. If there's anything, you know, that's looking at it at a very, at somewhat of a superficial level. Depends on who you are and what your life experience is. There is no failure, but programming can have us experience the idea of failure. So let's talk about some programs. Here is the number one program that keeps us tied in to the matrix. That program is death. Okay, the program of death, the fear of death. Now this is something else that Jesus demonstrated for us. Hello, Sabrina. Good morning, good morning. This phone ringing. This was demonstrated to us through Jesus, right? Jesus demonstrated eternal life, that although his physical body could be destroyed or could cease to exist, he demonstrated eternal life, that we cannot actually die. We are energetic. So part of what keeps us inside the matrix is the fear of death. Not only our death, but the death of our loved ones. That keeps us in the matrix, right? That death is bad, that death is something we should avoid, that we cease existence. But the truth is, nothing ever dies. I mean, the tree behind me, this oak tree, right? In the winter, it loses its leaves and it goes into hibernation. It looks dead. This is the first year Todd and I are living here, and we're like, is that tree dead? Right? We have all these trees. We're like, is that gonna come back? Is that going to? It goes through its cycles, right? And it comes back. And that is true for us. We have our experience between lifetimes, as well as a new life, reincarnation, coming back to this experience to learn more, to have more experiences. When you look at our life inside the matrix, it's simply experience. It's a very dense experience. But letting go of this idea of death, it creates sovereignty, right? You're sovereign. It's like nobody can control me by fear of death, right? If somebody holds you up at gunpoint, you automatically behave the way they want you to behave because you fear your death and you fear your the suffering of your family. Todd is bringing me a beverage. Thank you, honey.
You're welcome.
And so that fear is what holds you in the matrix. When you can look at a situation outside of fear, you claim your power. So I have, had the thought I would rather die, rather leave this physical experience than act out of incredible integrity, right? I don't want out of integrity that would harm other people, live a life in a way that harms other people. I would rather not be in this experience. If somebody gave me that choice, either behave this way, do these things, or I will kill you, right? I would rather not die. And then I would rather die than act outside of love and divine truth. So when we let go of the idea that people shouldn't die, when there are cultures, right? There are cultures, ancient cultures, that have celebrated the death as a rebirth, right? That we come here, that some cultures, ancient cultures, native cultures, believe that our experience in this physical time is actually the dream. And that when our physical body dies, we are released into the truth of it. So can you imagine when you lose a loved one, no matter how you lose that loved one, truly knowing that they fulfilled their purpose in the amount of time that they had on this planet, and be in celebration of that. Now, of course, when we lose a loved one, we are in pain because we loved having them in our lives. We loved that interaction. The most painful person to lose, most painful people to lose are our children. It is a program that we should never lose our children, that we as adults lose our parents, but we don't lose our children. And it's painful, and we can have compassion for that. But and have compassion without adding to the suffering, right? When we see individuals suffering, we can actually serve them by being in compassion without suffering with them. So suffering is a program that keeps you in the matrix. Everything that is happening on this planet at this time, all of what we may deem as atrocities, traumas, things that shouldn't happen, are creating openings for individuals, for people to ascend and to awaken to their sovereignty. Everything that is happening on this planet is creating these vast openings to awakening and to sovereignty. So let's look at the idea of the safety in public schools. Number one, we were given public schools by the government, right? We will educate your children while you go off to work. If we look at what this has done to the family, right? It's like, don't worry, you can go to work, earn a living, another program. All of these are programs, right? You can go earn a living, know your children are taken care of, and they are being educated. Now, I am delighted to have all of my children out of the public school system for lots of reasons. My kids have grown up. Now I have grandchildren in the public school system. So, but I know that a lot of what they were learning, I didn't agree with, right? It's very limited what the children are learning. And so it becomes like, here, we will do this for you. We lose the identity of how we can educate our children. We lose the idea of how we can strengthen the family when we are taught that, one, we have to earn a living, so we have to leave the home and go make money. And then we have a place for free to send our children to know they are taken care of. And we feel a sense of safety in that. But in that, we lose a piece of our sovereignty. We lose lots of pieces of our sovereignty. One, we are looking outside of us to support us in our ability to live, right? We have to go get a job that maybe we love, maybe we hate, right? So we live for the weekends, another program, right? And then suddenly our schools are not safe anymore, and we don't remember how to educate our children. And from a higher perspective, to see the forest, to see what's happening, this is creating a wide open opportunity for all of humanity to reclaim their sovereignty and understand that their rights, our rights, cannot be given or taken away by a government, by a human form. Our sovereignty, our rights are given by divinity. They're given by divinity. So understanding that from this higher perspective, we are all wise souls that have chosen to play a part in this awakening of the planet, in the awakening of humanity. And so what may seem like, and this is hard to say because I know I can be attacked or judged by not having compassion, and that is not what this is. What it is seeing that each individual, whether they are in an infant body or a 6-year-old's body or a 15-year-old's body or a 50-year-old's body, they are divine souls, wise souls, who have chosen a path that contributes to the awakening of this planet. Every individual on this planet is contributing to the awakening of the planet. Every shooter is contributing to the awakening of the planet. Every politician is contributing to the awakening of the planet. Every death, every experience, every death is contributing to the awakening of the planet. And that is the higher perspective. When we have our feet on the ground and we're not having we're not seeing with the eyes of oneness, with the eyes of the divine, with the eyes of love, it is very easy to get sucked into the suffering. And when we have our feet on the ground and we see with the eyes of the divine, that is when we have the ability to be the most compassionate, because we are not in fear. We can see the bigger picture. We can love all that are suffering. We can support all that are suffering through the transitions, through the experiences that they're having, and see that the experience that everyone is having, no matter how difficult it seems, is the process of their awakening. And that is a higher perspective. And that is how you extricate yourself from the suffering of the world and be in the world rather than of it, and be a high vibe influence for your family, for everyone who comes in contact with you, for a 500-mile radius around you. When you are high vibe, you are creating high vibes around you. And when you can see the forest and this moment in time that we call the matrix, and see that everything that is happening in the matrix right now is absolutely contributing to the awakening and the ascension of humanity and this planet. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below. I will be happy to come in and respond and answer those questions. And tune in next time for Higher Perspectives with Michelle Lee. Much love to you. Bye for now.